How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. More off-season shenanigans happening, but this time it isn't just a comparing video. It isn't a tier list. We're actually doing a kind of a weekly roundup kind of video. I feel like we should probably still do these about once, maybe like every few weeks, every month.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because despite there being no actual basketball going ahead, there's still stuff going on in the NBA to do with trades, to do with players that haven't signed contracts with new teams yet. It's still all crazy. People making predictions ahead of the new season, people making trades ahead of the new season. Yes, the new season ain't for another 3 months or so, but there's never a dull day in the NBA, you could say. Uh,
100%, especially in the off season.
yeah, definitely. Sully, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing good actually. I'm doing all right. Nothing shocking has happened yet, which is good. Nothing shocked my system to the point where I'm like, whoa. So I'm doing all right.
Yeah, good, good. So, well, I mean, you guys all know how this goes. Every single week we used to do this during the season. Um,
Mm,
This is kind of that plus some of the off-season, not trades, but the free agency video
yeah.
that we did. Pretty much gonna almost dive straight into it. But before we get into it, make sure that you're liking and subscribing onto the YouTube video. Make sure you're sharing it out no matter what you're listening on. Make sure you're following all of our social medias down in the description, including our TikTok. I'm back to posting that now that I don't have much else to do. So yeah, hopefully more TikToks coming. But I think we should get straight into it and talk about the elephant in the room. We talked about Kevin Durant um, as part of the free agency video. We talked about Kevin Durant as part of a video before then about will he leave Brooklyn. Obviously, he put
Mhm.
in that big trade. He wanted to leave, pretty much putting that trade demand in there. Everything kind of quietened down. Lots of people were saying there's a likelihood that KD will stay on the Brooklyn Nets because, well, not many teams have stuff that Brooklyn will want to take for a player like KD. And now, I just want to say yesterday or maybe Monday. Um, no, yesterday was Monday. Yesterday or Sunday. Um, News came out saying that Boston had put down an offer sheet for Kevin Durant. First of all, Kevin Durant in Boston, he's not really helping himself with the whole if you can't beat him, join him kind of situation that he's
Mm.
got going through.
I mean, if he was to join them, like, and then they run it back and like kind of won the chip, then I mean, like the whole argument we made that he helped them to win it because last year they couldn't do it and everything. But I mean, I'm quite like intrigued as to why Boston have offered, what they've offered. Like, I mean, Jalen Brown, obviously, as we know, like he was probably the most consistent player out of all the Celtic players in the
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the finals. Like,
I was looking at some people's reactions to it, and people were saying that Jalen Brown was their best player in the finals.
100% that.
And I'd say, yeah, like you say, he's probably the most consistent player. Like we said in the last video, obviously you put him in your top 20.
Mm,
Um, because of how consistent he is. Jason Tatum will explode multiple times a season, give you 40-point games. Jalen Brown probably
100%.
won't do that, but he won't have stinkers.
100%. And I mean, I just find it crazy, like because obviously we talk about the Boston Celtics having this amazing young core, and obviously JB is a part of that. Like me and you both said in the last video, him and JT is probably one of the best duos in the league, and for them to just give that up, like, it's quite shocking. Obviously, not to, disrespect KD. Like he was both in our, I think he was in your sixth spot, but he was both in our like top five, top six. So he's
Yeah, yeah.
still one of the best, most elite players in the league, and one of the best scorers ever. So obviously, having him to your team is an amazing addition, no matter which team you're playing for. But I think in this case, in this scenario, I think Boston they might be throwing away like the the part of the future of their club. Like
Yeah, definitely.
obviously we know JTs are going to be around for a long time, and we all just assume that like JB will be a part of that. And I think if they're doing this, they're kind of throwing away some of that future because then, let's say we give KD a few years and he retires, then JT's at Boston on his own. He might move, and that's like, the whole Boston franchise kind of just unfolded within a few years, and it's quite crazy. Like, I never, I didn't expect this one really, because I thought obviously the only people in the race was Miami and Toronto and Phoenix. I didn't really see anybody else like joining the race, because I don't see like the benefit to cost ratio being like the benefits being higher for most teams. And I think in this sense, I think Boston, the cost is actually a lot higher than the benefit. Like, if they will benefit maybe at the most 2 good years or deep playoff runs, possibly one chip. But I don't see anything more than that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, here's the question that's probably come from this is that with Boston retaining pretty much everyone that they have and adding themselves Mark and Brogdon, do they
Hmm.
need KD to go and run it back? Do you
I
think
don't
they
think
could
so.
run it back and run it back this year with pretty much the same core plus Mark and Brogdon and still get to the NBA Finals, still get themselves within 2 games of actually winning the chip?
I think they could do it. Like we've mentioned previously, I think they have a really good chance. Like, obviously, with other teams stepping up, that will happen. But I don't like see Boston as just like having a kind of a year that Phoenix had this year. I
Yeah,
don't see that
you
happening for
don't
them next year.
think that what happened this year was kind of a fluke from Boston. You feel like
100%.
it
I
was
don't
very
like
much
you.
deserved.
You could see that they earned what they got. They got to the NBA Finals. They earned that. You could see like they worked for it. It wasn't a fluke, like you said.
Yeah,
And I see them doing it up, trying like and having a deep playoff run, definitely. Um, but I don't think they need KD at all.
no,
I think
but
KD needs them
fair
more
enough,
than they need
fair enough.
KD.
But if they did put KD on that team, granted, probably only for 2 years, do we
Oh yeah, I
potentially
see it. I
see?
see a
Do we
chip happening.
potentially see one chip or two chip or no chip?
I see one at least. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
This is still KD, like we're talking about. Like I said, one of the most elite players in the league. But like I said, I see them doing it anyway. I just think, obviously, like I said, he would add to that.
he would almost
Like,
confirm it. You could say.
yeah, yeah,
I feel like, yeah, Boston are in the position where they can run it back and challenge again next year. KD kind of just makes it a little bit more of a certainty that they'll get out
hundred
of the
percent,
East, unless
100%.
Milwaukee have anything to say about it, I'd say. And then obviously, depending on who they face in the finals, it kind of just makes it more of a certainty that they're going to get a chip in the next 2 years. But why throw away 7, 8 years of JB and JT for two
Mm,
years of KD? Like you said,
it's
I feel like the
yeah,
cost ain't really there.
100%. I mean, I think that if they were to do that, I think that would be like the Boston board, like just a quick, like glory grab in the moment kind of thing. Like, they know like they're gonna have 2 good years, probably win maybe one chip, but then like you said, they're throwing away 8 years of like what they've been building. They're just throwing it all down the drain, and then what could have been some like a lot more probably chips. Like, let's say in the next
Yeah,
8 years, they could have like a handful,
yeah,
and really they threw all of that away for one. It's
yeah.
like, what, it doesn't really add up to me.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, obviously, we've gone through all of that. In the end, the offer that Boston actually gave Brooklyn was rejected. Boston offered them um, Derek White as well as Jalen Brown. I think there was a draft pick in there too.
Mm,
Derek White, obviously a big role player in last season's playoff run. Shot well, all things
yeah,
considered, against Golden State in the first few games. Obviously, one of the main reasons why Boston won game one, I'd say, that bench production. Boston have very good depth, and Derek White was one of the reasons that happened. Brooklyn rejected that and said that they will accept if they had that plus Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year.
I
Plus,
actually think the first
you put,
offer was good enough, anyways.
you think?
I like in the Brooklyn standpoint, like
I was gonna
KD
say
does.
if you're keeping your likes of Kyrie, Ben Simmons, and
Yeah,
that, Jalen Brown's a very good player to
100%.
complement
Like
what you have.
obviously, I now that Kyrie, like obviously we saw him accept the player option. I don't see him leaving, although he said he
Yeah,
kind of
I
wants
was
to.
gonna say that's something else that I was gonna say. I feel like reports are coming out saying that whether KD's there or not, Kyrie's committed at least for this season
Yeah,
with
and
Brooklyn.
obviously, like we said, we're waiting for Ben Simmons. I think if you add JB into the mix, I think that's a really good team. And you know, I actually, I'm quite shocked that they rejected that. I'm not gonna lie. I've like if you're offering JB, that's a future, you know, consistent All Star. That's a, a future MVP, in my opinion. That's big player. Like I put him in my top 20. Do you know what I mean? And I think Brooklyn, them rejecting that, that's probably the best offer they've had
Yeah,
for
definitely. I
KD.
feel like it's the only one, maybe. I mean, we've had Miami and Toronto and Phoenix all linked with Brooklyn, but I don't think
I
an
think this
actual
is the
offer,
first offer that they've been
or
given.
at least it's the first offer that's kind of made its way into the
Yeah.
media.
And I
As
think that, like, well, I think it's a really great offer. And to be honest, in a Boston standpoint, I think, like, obviously they wouldn't want to lose JB. I wouldn't want to lose JB if I'm a Boston fan. But I think if you're a Brooklyn fan, KD doesn't want to play. He's not interested in playing there anymore. I think for me, that should have been accepted. If
yeah,
you're
because
on the board,
in the end, it kind of flips the situations of Brooklyn and Boston almost. Obviously,
mm,
not completely, but now you have a good 6, 7 years of Jalen Brown
yeah,
plus
100%.
Kyrie Irving plus Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons isn't old.
Yeah,
You probably got a good 6 years of Ben Simmons if he can be bothered to play.
yeah,
And so yeah, I feel like whatever Brooklyn do, I feel like trading Kevin Durant's probably the best option for them
yeah,
because it puts
100%.
them in a position where they don't have to go out and instantly rebuild when KD ultimately leaves in like retires in 2 3 years. Um, and ultimately, if KD don't want to be there, he's not going to play his best. You'd
Mm.
think these
Yeah, I
next
mean,
this next year.
yeah, I completely agree. And I just, like you said, the best thing for Brooklyn is to try and get him on a different team. And I really don't understand why they didn't accept that deal. There might be
Yeah,
something, as like you said, they wanted Marcus Smart as well. I don't see Boston ever sending their two of their starters for
right.
KD.
That's the next thing I was going to ask. I was going to say if you're Boston, I was going to say I feel like it's pretty obvious given what we've been saying,
Mm,
but do you accept this
oh, no
counter offer?
chance. I mean,
No.
the thing is,
Do you try and swindle it to maybe give Brooklyn a few more role players?
I mean, clearly Boston want KD, and maybe like if we're looking at it at that sense that they do want him and they're willing to give up JB, then yeah, I'd say give up a few more role players, then they might be more likely to say, yeah, you know what, okay, then we'll take that because they want to get rid of KD. Boston clearly want KD. It makes sense. I mean, but at the same time, clearly, like I said, if they're willing to give up JB for KD, maybe they are stupid enough to give up Marcus Smart as well. I don't know. I mean, we'll see if that happens. Then Boston, they're clearly throwing away like whatever chance they have of building their club back up again. But we'll have to see. I don't know,
Yeah, who
truthfully.
knows? Who knows? So
Mm.
before we move on, one question: is KD still a Brooklyn Net by this time the season begins? And then the second question: if he isn't, is he a Boston Celtic?
Uh, for the time being, I'm gonna say he'll stay a Brooklyn net.
Okay, that's fair.
But
That's
who
fair.
knows?
I want to. I
I also
want to
saw
agree
that
with you.
he was like he wants to go back to Golden State. I have seen that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it was reliable sources, and
I think he'll stay at Brooklyn. If I'm honest with you,
yeah, it makes sense. I don't see why he wouldn't.
I don't see why Boston would send that offer back. I feel like if they do send an offer back, it will have Marcus Smart now. I feel like Marcus Smart's way too important
Yeah,
for a championship contending team, given
Yeah,
the defense that he brings, either off
100%.
the bench or starting. Definitely.
100%.
So we
Completely
think
agree with you.
KD is going to stay on the Brooklyn Nets. Next question, is Russell Westbrook going to be staying on the Lakers before the season starts?
I say yes, because I have seen, like I said, reliable sources here. Um, I've seen that him, AD, and LeBron all had a conversation saying they're all down to like give their
Right,
all
right.
for LA
I've
next
I've
year.
seen that too. Yeah.
And I mean, I can back it, to be honest. I don't see um why LeBron wouldn't want, the like obviously Russell didn't have a great year last year, but
Yep.
straight back that one. But I mean, like these guys, like especially him and Westbrook, they ain't got much time left. We know that. AD obviously he's young still ish, and they can like one be like the last, like this could be the last good thing for them for their career, and then obviously leave something behind for AD to like continue, rather than if they just get rid of Westbrook, get rid of somebody else, and start again with only probably two LeBron years left. Do you know? I feel like it doesn't really make sense. Obviously, Carmelo Anthony's gone back on free agency. They only signed him on a 1 year. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. Um, and then I see them all staying. I see them that
All right.
trio doing it again or trying something next year, at least making the playoffs or something.
I personally don't think so. I mean, I feel like LA have had a very underwhelming off season so far.
100%.
Um, they've lost Malik Monk, who people were saying
Mm,
was their second best shooter last season,
yeah.
alongside after LeBron. Um, and yeah, I feel they don't really have much trade power in terms of picks, and they kind of wanting to keep the picks for the future. And it's not even like, when I say future, I mean 2027 and 2029,
Mm,
which is what some teams are actually saying will sort out deals for. They want that plus
mm.
Russ for certain players. Apparently, reports coming out saying that Indiana rejected an offer from LA for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner that included Russ and 3 draft picks, 2 second rounders, and and a first rounder. Russ
Um,
at the moment is staying, but Indiana are saying that they kind of want the 2 first rounds if they want that, if they're to accept it. I feel like it's a bit of a stupid
yeah.
thing to do. Indiana giving away Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. I feel like Miles Turner should have way more trade value as a center. Um, but yeah, it's not only the Pacers that have come out as suitors for Russ. Reports are saying that the Knicks and the Jazz are apparently discussing ways to get Russ
Staying there.
to get to their
Fair enough.
team. Yeah,
I don't, like we mentioned earlier, I don't think he has a lot of trade value still, but like, you never know what you're going to get with that guy right now.
that's true.
Like, like when he went to Washington, nobody knew, okay, was he going to be good? Was he going to be down? He ended up being quite decent, actually.
Yeah,
And then he went to LA and everyone thought it was going to be the same, and
yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah.
So, like, whoever gets him, if he does move, you never know. Like, you don't know what you're going to, like,
No, it's like
you
a
could
flip of
get,
a coin, really, isn't it?
it really is, you could get, like, the good side of Russ, and you can be getting triple doubles every week, or you're getting the Russ that's, like, hitting the behind of the
Backboard.
backboard,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like, it's crazy.
yeah.
Like, but I don't expect, like, him to go for absolutely nothing. I do see, like, if they were to trade him, I do see LA getting something worthy, like,
That's
back. Where
fair.
it might not be like massive, but I see something worth it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, because I do agree with that. I feel like Russ's, you can't really define him off of this one
Mm,
season, but equally you
100%.
can't back him to have
Yeah,
a bounce
like a
back year next
amazing
year.
season. Like,
Yeah.
I still, like, I'll be honest, the guy's still a future Hall of Famer, if you ask
No,
me,
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
100%.
I'd say
And
so. I
who
mean, you
wouldn't?
can't, like I said, you can't define him off of this one year.
Yeah, you can't.
Um, and I feel like as a first option or a second option, he's still perhaps has something to
Yeah,
prove.
he still
It,
has the
it's
skill.
just
We know it's
it's
there.
the it's the contract which I
Yeah,
feel is what is going to put people off.
yeah,
Obviously,
100%.
like it's what the fourth. Well, it probably isn't anymore after all of the money that's been flying around in free agency so far. But last season it was what the fourth biggest contract in the
Yeah,
NBA or something
and
like
to
that.
be
I
honest,
might be
I
wrong.
think LA is the only like team in the league that can actually pay a contract.
As well as loads of money for LeBron and
Yeah,
AD. Yeah, I
I
feel,
don't,
and that's the interesting thing that could come out of that is that if he was to go to a team that he doesn't really want to play for, such as I don't know the Nets, maybe they were
mm,
saying he'd accept a buyout and sign for another team on probably something a little less, which is I feel that might be the way that Russ plays for a different team next season.
really.
Because I feel like I don't know. I feel like if you're the Pacers or the Knicks or anyone in the league, Russell Westbrook isn't gonna be a game changer for you. He isn't gonna be the person that's gonna propel you to the next
Yeah,
level unless you're like, not even if
Orlando
you
Magic.
even if you're a team not even getting the play-in, he might get you in
Mm,
the play-in, but he won't get you in the playoffs. I feel.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like you're not signing Russell Westbrook to be your poster boy now. You need to
Yeah.
get him on less money as someone who can take a second role potentially.
Mm.
Definitely not, and on a team that you know doesn't have as many cameras pointing at you because obviously
But then I think
it's gonna
if you
knock your
have
confidence
if you
seeing.
have Russell Westbrook on your team, the cameras will be there.
That's potential. That's potentially true. Yeah, I just feel like if you're the Knicks, you're not going to be spending all of that money on Russell Westbrook. I feel
Yeah,
same if you're the Pacers. If you're trying to rebuild your team, you're not doing it with Russ, in my opinion.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah,
like the only
100%.
way he's going to be able to play for a team like that is if he takes less money. Obviously the Kyrie rumors to LA have kind of died down.
Yeah.
So obviously the likelihood of that happening might be short, but it might not happen at all.
Mm.
So I don't know where Russ would be happy playing next year. Um, I do think that something might happen with that Indiana trade, though, that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
who knows? We'll see. To be honest, I do see him staying. I think if he was going to be traded, he would have been traded by now. Like, but I see him staying. I see, like I said, I don't see him and LeBron having much more time in the league, so they probably might as well try and do something together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, he clearly wants to succeed while he's still at LA,
Yeah.
and maybe like still sees something in Russ that we obviously aren't seeing because obviously, like I said, we don't see everything that goes on
Oh yeah, that's
behind
true.
closed doors. He might be seeing something we aren't seeing and wanting to commit. I mean, hopefully that's the case because as well with Russ, like last year, although he didn't have the best year, he was still committed to playing every game. He wasn't really injured much. Like
No, no.
obviously that's
Yeah.
something LeBron obviously needs. He needs players that will
Yeah, because he
commit
ain't
to.
getting it through Anthony Davis, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, we know that. We know that. AD, I mean, that guy averages at least 3 injuries a season, and that's not what you want in
No.
some of your big guys. But like, I mean, it'll be fun to see where this whole Russell LA thing leads. But I think he stays.
Fair enough, fair enough. I think personally he goes. To where? I've no idea. But I
Mm,
do think
yeah,
for LA's sake, if you want to better your team,
trade.
you cash in on Russ now. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Well, I mean, we'll stick with LA for a bit. You talked about LeBron wanting to um, succeed whilst being in LA.
yeah,
It's very likely that he's going to be succeeding even more next season, given that calculations say that he only needs to average 16.2 points per game in order to overpass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most points in NBA history. That's easy, really.
crazy.
You'll
That's
get that
that's
done
life.
now.
That's life for him. Let's be honest. That's life for him. I think he was
Definitely.
averaging 29 last season. He almost got the scoring title.
Yeah,
So
I think he would have got the scoring title if he'd have played the amount
the
of games
last few games, yeah,
that qualify you to be in that
Yeah, because
category.
he got injured for the last few, and then
Yeah,
Embiid overtook him. But yeah, he was averaging like 29, close to 30. I think there was a point he was averaging 30 last year.
yeah.
I mean, that's next year, next season. The big debate is gonna be like happening. Like, is the GOAT debate over? Kind of thing. Is gonna be circling all over Twitter and Instagram, and Shaq and all them guys are gonna talk about it. And I mean,
Maybe. I mean, I don't think it is. I think the GOAT debate's going to be there until the end of time.
oh yeah, no, it's gonna be there till the end of time, but they're gonna once he surpasses Kareem, because we know it's gonna happen some point soon in the foreseeable season this year. But that's when everyone's gonna say, right, is the debate over? Is he now better than Jordan? No, like arguments at all. And I mean, obviously, like everyone's gonna say that. I think if he does that and has a deep playoff run, that would be an amazing year for him. Obviously, me personally, I want to see the guy succeed more. Like I said, we've not got many more seasons of LeBron left. Another chip, seeing him win another more chip, I would love to see that. But I mean, it's just a matter of when he surpasses Kareem. It's not even about if now; it's
Yeah.
about when, which is so
When,
crazy.
what arena it's going to happen in. I
It has
feel
to be
like
MSG, man. It has to be
I was going
MSG.
to say Steph Curry broke the 3-point record at the Garden. I just feel like
Like it's the most.
if he has a road game in Detroit and he needs 3 points to overtake it, I think he's sitting that one out. If I'm honest with you.
I mean, like the guys, MSG is probably the most
Well, to be
iconic.
fair,
You
saying
got
that, he loves Orlando, so he might break it in Orlando just for the
nah, man,
buzz.
he can't do that. What dunking on Paolo is like the way he just surpasses Kareem. No, I hope it does happen in like Madison Square Garden. Like it's literally the most iconic arena probably in sport, or it's definitely up there.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
we've seen Jordan, have his last game there. He wore the Jordan ones and everything. Like we've seen Steph Curry break the 3-point record. I think LeBron doing this, that would just certify, like like the levels. But also, it is the Knicks, and you know how we just like to fold over everyone. That if they saw that happening, yep, LeBron needs to get 35 points to beat Kareem. You know he's dropping 55 on your head. Like you
Yeah,
just know. Like,
yeah.
you
Julius
might as well
Randle,
sit out.
you can't do anything about it.
Trust me, you might as well just sit out all the big boys and just let the bench players play, because LeBron's going to drop 50 points. You might as well let it happen to the kids, and
Yeah. Well, big ups, LeBron. Shouts to him. He's gonna have
yeah, I
a
mean,
historic season next year.
100%. And the podcast episode is going to be ready as soon as he
Yeah,
beats that record.
yeah.
The title's going to be, is LeBron the GOAT? We're going to be stood there like, is he the GOAT? I don't know.
And I'll say no, and you'll say yes, and then we're gonna have a debate.
And we're going to get Shaq on the podcast. Shaq's gonna be there.
Yeah, shouts to LeBron, man. He's
Big
gonna
up
have a
LeBron.
great year next year. You know who
100%.
isn't gonna be breaking the points record before he retires?
I don't know.
Kemba Walker. Segue straight into the fact that Kemba Walker obviously isn't a New York Knick anymore. He's left. He got a buyout, or he left in free agency. Hasn't signed with anyone yet. Rumors are saying that he might be going back to Charlotte. Is that a good fit or not?
I mean, Kemba at Charlotte he was a baller. But that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. Charlotte is a much different team now. Like,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, they've got their point guard again. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think if he does sign, it definitely will be for a bench role.
yeah, he will be the number 2 option, or maybe he might switch into a slightly different position. He might be able to play shooting guard. I don't know. Obviously, like the whole thing with Bridges, if whatever happens there, if he plays or not, if you know what I'm saying, like I don't know, but he probably will be a number 2 option, and if whatever happens with that, who knows? But it would be nice to see Kemba in a Charlotte jersey again, because that does kind of just remind me of good times with Kemba Walker.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think he left in such an awful. He didn't
No,
leave. He didn't create bad blood when he left. I mean, Charlotte were
no,
he'd spent what 7, 8 years at the
something like that.
Hornets. with nothing
obviously,
really happening for him. He just left to
yeah,
try
he was
and
just like obviously trying to like better his career, and it just
yeah.
flopped like really badly.
But
Maybe
he
he was
did
kind
alright. He
of
did alright in Boston in the 2 seasons that he played there. Obviously, injuries kind of stopped him from
true, and then I think that just took a toll on the rest of his like playing career.
and then
But maybe you could say like because back then Charlotte they weren't really the team
yeah,
like being the best on a half decent, half not that good team like kind of maybe overplayed how good he was. I don't know. He
yeah,
was good, but maybe obviously then we're stepping into like obviously when he joined Boston, Kyrie was there, like you know
yeah.
that kind of just maybe overshadowed how good he actually was.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if I'm honest with you, whilst he played for Boston, he played about 90 games in Boston, averaged just under 20 points. I feel like he still has something to offer. I feel like Tom
100%.
Thibodeau kind of put him on the bench and ruined his career almost, but I feel
Hmm.
like he still has something to prove. It'd be interesting to see what happens if he does.
I mean, I would like Charlotte to give him a chance at least because
Yeah, I feel like
you don't
he
want.
definitely isn't a player that you bring on a contending team to give that extra piece, which is a bit of a
Yeah,
shame for him. He can't do it. He's too used to playing with rubbish teams.
he's lost it now. Do you know, like, but he's not fully lost it, but he's lost the majority of it. But that's
Yeah,
not his fault, obviously. Like you said, injuries obviously take a toll on players, and when it happens so frequently, like these things happen, but and I mean, if they give him a chance, that would be nice to see. Like, if he still has something to offer, you never know. He might. Obviously, they've still got a lot of young players. He's a veteran in the league.
yeah, definitely.
He will have something to
I
offer,
feel like
something
being
to teach.
back up to Lamelo.
100%. And like, I think as good as and I love Lamelo. I think if he was to have like a big veteran behind him, like just kind of in his ear teaching him, I think that would be really good for him and the progression of his career and everything, and like progression of being a point guard and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I feel Kemba. Like I said, I feel like he does need to go to a team that is either on the up or in the bin.
Yeah,
To just monitor the young guys.
yeah,
So yeah, I feel Charlotte is probably the best bet for him in my opinion. Like I say, I wouldn't say he's got unfinished business there, but yeah,
yeah.
it might be what Charlotte needs if he can sign there on a small contract.
He probably, yeah, and I don't think he'd mind taking a smaller contract. Like he knows his time is almost up. Like maybe just continuing to playing in the league. That's what he wants. It doesn't really matter about the money anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're coming towards the end of this little roundup.
Hmm.
This is maybe the second most interesting story of the week that's come out past Kevin Durant, and I feel like if you can be the second behind KD, you're probably
You're doing
still
all right.
still a bit of an interesting story, and
Hmm.
that is the future of Donovan Mitchell.
Hmm.
Obviously, Rudy Gobert is now no longer a member of the Utah Jazz. Utah came out and said that they're potentially going to look to build around Donovan. Obviously, Mitchell's still a bit young. They were thinking maybe they could build around Mitchell still. Mitchell has, well, I mean, I think he's made it clear that he doesn't really want to stay at Utah.
Yeah, and Donovan Mitchell, if you're watching this, please, please sign to the Knicks. Sign to the Knicks. I've been seeing this. That he might go to New York. Please, Donovan, do it. It will.
Yeah.
It will. You might not think that it's going to be a good idea. It's going to be a good idea. Believe me, I know. I can see these things. I've seen to the future. Donovan Mitchell, come to New York Knicks. That's what I need to say to you because I know he watches. That's the thing. Because obviously, like I told you, you know that I'm friends with Rudy Gobert and everything. Like he saw me impersonate him. He wasn't too happy about it. But since then, we like blessed the beef, and so now I know that he will tell like Donovan to watch this, and he I think
You
this New
think
York
Donovan
team.
Mitchell's answering Rudy Gobert's text?
No, there's still boys like that. There's still boys like
Oh,
that.
are they really? Okay.
Yeah, honestly, like I think every Knicks fan in the whole world would like just like finally like if that was to happen, a guy that can consistently give us buckets. That's what we need. That
Okay,
Donovan Mitchell.
as a Nick fan, then this is completely off of what I was gonna say. Who would you
Mm.
give up?
The whole team. No, honestly, that is a hard question because like like we have like the handful, and even then that's a stretch. Like when I say a handful of good players, and like it would have to be one of the good players. And I would never want to give up RJ Barrett. I love Julius Randle, but then like the options we have to give are quite slim. So like it would either be like 25 role players or like I don't know, like
But
RJ or something.
when I swear I was reading something earlier this week, might have been back end of last week, that said that like the negotiations aren't that close because Utah wants something like 7 first round picks for him.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I would happily like say give up the
No
7 first
player's
round
worth
picks.
7 first round picks.
Listen, like it's like
You see,
I've
you
never watched
look at
the
what
New York Knicks be good. There was that one season where we got kicked out of the first round of the playoffs, and that was the most success I've ever watched New York have. And that was amazing. Like that was such a good time. Donovan Mitchell, he will at least get us
were you
to
not were you
the
not were you not about during Carmelo's dagger
like.
days?
I was there, but like that was before like I was really into the Knicks. That was when I was just into NBA as a
Fair,
whole.
fair.
And then by the time I started like feeling the Knicks, it was like, why am I feeling the Knicks? Like they're dead. Like, but it was kind of Carmelo that like made it happen. To be fair, but then obviously by the time that guy went, is like it came and went kind of thing. But I think I would like to see Donovan Mitchell, like donning the Knicks jersey, but I I think it's very unlikely. I'll be honest. I think we have the
I
least to
feel
offer.
I feel like if Utah want that many draft picks, he's going to be staying in Utah because, like I said, no team's going to give that many picks for one
Yeah.
player. No matter how young he is, no matter how talented he is, maybe other than like Luka Doncic or something. But the
Mm,
fact is, we've seen the Lakers murder their future for Anthony Davis, and now they don't have a
yeah.
first round pick for like another 4 or 5 years.
Mm,
So
true.
yeah,
True.
it's done for them. But yeah, I feel
Yes.
like Donovan. Well, I mean, the Knicks might not be getting him. Many other teams have become interested, including the Hawks, the Hornets, the Heat. We always knew the Heat were interested.
Mm.
The Raptors, the Wizards, and the Kings. Is this what Sacramento need to mean?
I was gonna say the Kings, like you really like snuck them in there. Like it's like,
Is this what Sacramento need to make sure that someone in the NBA will have played them in the playoffs? Obviously, I'm referencing the fact
the
that
fact
obviously
that they
it came out earlier
nobody
this
in the
week.
league.
Nobody in the whole league has played the Kings in the playoffs. There
I
have been
find that so crazy. Like even LeBron in his 19 years of playing in the NBA has
well, it's
never
obviously
faced
he's never been in the West for
true
well that much. Obviously,
most
they'd
of
be
the
in the
time.
playoffs at the same time, but they've had they'd
Yeah.
both them and the stinky Cavs teams that he was on must have had to both make the finals, which was never going to happen. So
That's mental though. But I
yeah,
mean, I don't. I mean, Kings. I think they're just trying to join the like scrimmage just for like a bit of laughs. But
bit of fun.
I
Who
think
put my
a
man there?
team most
Who invited
likely.
him?
I think a team that he should join. I think Toronto's his best. Like,
I
because
feel like Toronto and Miami have the most to give in exchange for a
yeah,
superstar player
but
like that.
I wouldn't see Miami giving in the end because I think they are actually all right. Like they don't really need him. Like we saw, they were like what, a 3 point shot away from like conference finals,
The
like
NBA finals, yeah.
the NBA finals. My bad. They're like a 3 point shot away from a second trip to the finals. Like in 3 years, that is
Yes.
crazy. Like they clearly don't really need the guy, but I think Toronto would definitely
I feel
like
like if you're looking at it, I feel like Toronto are in a bad position because any whenever they want to trade for a superstar, the other team's always saying that they want Scotty Barnes in return.
mm,
And if you're Toronto, you don't really want to give up. I feel like if you can maybe work a package around Fred VanVleet, um, that could potentially do it. I mean, I
mm.
still rate Freddie.
I
Maybe
still rate him
VanVleet.
too, but I think the fans just wouldn't like that. Like the Toronto fans are very loyal, and
True.
like the mini Drake has been very loyal to Toronto. I think I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I think his best option, if he was to better his career, would be Toronto because of like I think they're climbing up again. But how they would acquire him, I really don't know.
Yeah, I
And I don't
mean,
see them
yeah.
ever giving up Scotty, and I hope they don't because the guy's an absolute baller.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they
Atlanta,
would work that.
Atlanta, you could pretty much write them off. They've got a decent backcourt in the
Yeah, that's
first place. I
fine.
don't understand why
I
they're there.
wouldn't see them even.
Yeah, I mean, Washington are paying Bradley Beal 50 mil every single season for the next 5 years, so they probably can't afford to.
I don't think they can afford him.
The Kings are the Kings. Charlotte maybe, but I feel like Charlotte don't really have much to offer
Yeah,
either.
I mean, if they were to give, like, I mean,
I feel like
that
maybe before the whole the
yeah.
he who must not be named could have been worked in
I
a
mean, they can still trade him. They just, not going to play. They can still trade him.
maybe the laws are different in Utah. Who knows? So yeah, I just feel like this this year's a bit weird because I feel like there's no team in the NBA
Hmm.
that is willing to package something for a star.
Yeah,
We
because
were talking about KD that way in the way that nobody really is able to package something for KD. I think Donovan Mitchell's going to have a bit more trade value to him because of how young he is. I feel
young
like
he is, yeah, 100%.
KD
But then
probably
I think,
does still only have 2-3 years left. Donovan Mitchell came into the league at a young age, very, very good inside scorer, 23, 24.
I see, like, if there
Yeah,
was anyone to, like, give, like, so for example, like we were saying, Toronto giving up Scotty Barnes, I think, although, like I literally just said, I hope they wouldn't do that, that would at the same time make sense because Donovan Mitchell, he's a young star. He's already like you said, 22, 23, and he's already all star,
I can personally
consistent all
see.
star.
I can personally see them giving up um, Siakam before they give up Scotty Barnes, in my opinion.
That would make sense too. But I think with a team, you need a balance of like veterans and young guys rather than like just a bunch of young guys. Unless you're Boston, obviously they have like the exception. I don't know how they managed to pull it off. To be fair, but I think like you said with KD, he's only got a couple of years left, so it would be harder for a team to fathom the idea of giving up a lot of young players in in exchange for 2 good years. Whereas with Donovan, you're getting the majority of his career as a still a well rounded player, great player, a all star player for every single year for the next 8 something seasons. You know that, like with the KD thing, you're only getting 2 more years, and even maybe then like the guy gets injured, so you're getting really like a year and a bit.
Yeah,
If you put it all
exactly.
together,
The risk is a lot higher with KD in
yeah,
that
100%. With
regard.
Donovan
Yeah.
Mitchell, there's less risk because you're getting a consistent,
I think it could be more
young.
risk in the way that Utah demand a lot more because they feel like they
Yeah,
don't need to get rid. I mean, I don't really know how long Donovan Mitchell's got on his contract,
yeah,
but Utah have said that they're willing to keep Donovan and build around him. So if that's what they
only
want to do,
yeah. I mean, that's what they want to do, but we all know he doesn't want to play there, and it's like the whole thing of if a player doesn't want to play in a team, there's no point keeping him because he's not going to give 100% because he doesn't want to
well,
be there. Like,
I think we've seen in the NBA that if you pay him enough, they'll stay. So
true, but they
yeah,
won't really play. Like, you know, they'll stay, but are they going to actually turn up and play?
Look,
No, no, not really.
I think it could be a wise thing for Donovan to maybe just stick it out 1 year and see how it goes. Potentially,
True. I mean, if Utah can convince him to stay for 1 year and he has another good year, I think that would be good for him
more trade value.
and for them. Yeah, a lot more
Yeah,
trade value, and then a lot more teams will be like gunning for the guy.
yeah. Like I said, maybe next year more teams will have more
100%.
flexibility in being able to trade
And
for him.
then he'll probably get paid more. But then that's the problem for like a lot of the teams that are trying to get him now. Like for example, if that was to happen, Knicks don't have a chance of getting him. Toronto will have a slimmer chance. Charlotte will probably have a slimmer chance. These teams that are trying to grab him now. Next year, if that was to happen and his trade value is higher, they can be, you know, sent out the door because there's no chance. Like they won't be able to compete in terms of like trade value with teams like LA and all of that, because they have the money, they have all of that, they know like how to get these things done. Boston, all of them.
Yeah, fair. Well, last thing before we go then, do we think Donovan Mitchell is going to stay on the Utah Jazz? And if not, where's he off?
My heart wants to say the Knicks, but I see him sticking out. But I hope I'm wrong.
If I'm honest with you, I kind of agree. I feel like if he does leave, it might be to New York.
Let's
I
just
just feel
hope.
like, it's a player's dream to go play for New York, and I feel like
Yeah, I mean, it's a
they've
Madison
New
Square
York
Garden, man.
New York have been through enough. Um, they've been linked with everyone. They've been rejected by everyone. Maybe this is the time that someone finally is like, you know what, I'm gonna go play for the Knicks.
I'm telling you, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get Donovan, and then we're gonna trade Donovan Mitchell on like 12 years of first round picks, and we're gonna get KD, and then we're gonna win the chip for the next 2 years, and then it's fine. It doesn't matter what happens after that because New York won 2 chips, so.
Right, okay. bit of a far fetched 2 year plan in my opinion, but who
If the
knows?
GM of New York watches this and this happens, he needs to pay me because I gave him the idea.
Ah, right, okay, sure.
And then we'll
Yeah,
split it because obviously
Donovan
you put the
Mitchell watching
video.
the podcast is like, right, trade me to Brooklyn. But if I'm Utah, why don't we just skip out New York and just
Because they
trade
don't
for
need to know
KD?
about that part. They don't need to know about that part. They obviously
Ah,
they're not
right, okay.
involved.
Okay, right. Sorry about my bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well, I think that'll conclude this little mini recap of everything that's happening in free agency and the trading world of the NBA. Like I said at the start, we'll probably do these maybe every few weeks, or we'll just do it when we have enough things to talk about. Really,
Mm.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun this week, just discussing trades, doing all
100%.
that kind of stuff. We'll be back doing more like ranking videos next week. We are going to be maybe doing a bit of a football slash basketball crossover comparison video
So
for
I'll wear
you.
my NBA
You,
jersey. Sam will wear a football top, so the crossover's there.
yeah. For you English people that watch the podcast, that might be one for you guys. So make sure you're subscribing, keep your notifications on so you don't miss that out. Make sure that you're commenting down below anything that you want to see from us over the off season. Make sure you commented on that TikTok as well. On that, links in the description. Make sure you're following that as well as our Instagram. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Make sure you're sharing it out no matter what you're listening on, any other podcast platforms, any YouTube, anything like that. And me and Sully will see you guys next week. Peace.